Wednesday, hump day, ladies and gentlemen, as you are locked and loaded onto the hottest show in the streets, the number one form, number one ticket for Crimson Tide football news, notes, and information. That being, in my own words, with yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. As always, excited, overjoyed to have each and every last one of you tuning into the network show and channel on today. Got a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss here. Crimson Tide gearing up for its third game of the season against Ole Miss this week. And as always, we're bringing you the show from Tuscaloosa, streaming this to you via YouTube. Speaking of the channel, go ahead right now, give a thumbs up, drop a like on the show right now, hit that subscribe button, turn on all of those notifications so that way you can have the best in news, notes, alerts, and coverage on your favorite program, that being the Crimson Tide. Not only are we streaming this to you through YouTube, but also to all my Facebook people out there and to all my Twitter people out there, we are coming to you guys as well. So we're hitting you with the YouTube stream, Facebook stream, and Twitter stream. So no excuse for you not to be locked on to your show. Number one form here for Alabama football news. That being, in my own words. It's always great to be joined in studio by the man, the myth, the legend, the maestro, John Ivory, in the production room, doing his thing as he does on a daily basis here for the show. And like I said, got a lot to talk about, a lot to dive into, a lot to conversate on, and we want you to be a part of the show. We want your phone calls, your thoughts, your questions, your ideas, and you can do that by calling 205-448-1358, the number to call in to let your voice be heard on the show, 205-448-1358, and one more time, 205-448-1358. Definitely want to hear from you. A little bit later in the show, we'll be joined by former Alabama wide receiver Matt Caddell to have a fun, interactive segment for the Tide and its push to take on Ole Miss this weekend. But got a little update here before we jump into the first topic of conversation. And according to the National Weather Services in New Orleans, Louisiana, among other places, Hurricane Delta, which is now a Category 4 hurricane, it made landfall in the Gulf of Mexico today. The reports coming out is it's expected to take a north turn. It could go east, but it's expected to take a north turn and impact of the areas of southern Louisiana or southeast Louisiana and southern Mississippi. Now, of course, the SEC front office in Birmingham has been monitoring the storm. I know the LSU-Missouri matchup, which was originally set up to be played in Baton Rouge this weekend, Missouri has volunteered to host the game, so now that game will be played in Columbia due to the potential effects of Hurricane Delta. So hopefully it'll spin in another direction or just die off, in the Gulf, because of course U.S. fans want to have this game be played this weekend between Alabama and Ole Miss. However, the SEC has been putting together some different game times or different schedules for the game if the weather hits home in terms of affecting southeast Louisiana and southern Mississippi. So the conversation has been possibly move the game up to Friday, or push the game back to Saturday, or have the game played at a later time. But as of right now, Hurricane Delta, Category 4, it's expected to push toward southeastern Louisiana to southern Mississippi. Hopefully it does not take that direction, but that's just the news right there, weather-wise, from the National Weather Service coming from New Orleans, Louisiana, and various other places on Hurricane Delta. But as we go into the first topic of conversation here, not a meteorologist, but had to give that update. So going to the first topic of conversation here, folks, on the show. And we ended Monday's show with talking about the defense for Alabama and the things that need to be cleaned up on that side of the football. Of course, you guys as fans blew us up with phone calls talking about your growing concerns about the defense, your growing concerns when you talk about Pete Golding, and you guys blew us up a phone call. So to me, I want to ask this question right now. I really want to ask this question right now. I know I'm going to take the first crack at answering it, but I want to pose this question to you, the fans, and when we come back from the first break, I want you guys ringing the phone lines off the hook with your thoughts on this. So the question is, in your mind as a fan, what does Pete Golding have to do, or what should Pete Golding do, or what is going to be, what do you have in demand right now of Pete Golding in terms of this week's matchup against Mississippi, against Ole Miss in Oxford, Mississippi, Vaught Hemingway Stadium this weekend? What does Pete Golding have to do to bring some calmness, to bring some assurance to you as a fan that he can run this defense? He's more than capable of coaching this defense under the overarching umbrella that is Nick Saban for the Crimson Tide. So that's just my question for you. Like, what does Pete Golding have to do in order to put you in a sense of ease, a better state of mind here, as an Alabama football fan? Because to me, simply just to me, he is not doing a just terrible job. I mean, of course, there are some things that Bama's got to clean up on that side of the football, but not doing just a complete terrible job here. I go back to what I mentioned on Monday. If you take away 4 botched plays, 4 blown coverage plays where Alabama is not keying in or focusing in on the running back out the backfield, it's only given up 9.5 points per game, and it's a top 10 scoring defense in college football versus giving up 21.5 points per game. So being able to focus in on the running back coming out the backfield, which is part of that communication and execution that I spoke on, but then also being able to wrap up, and tackle guys. Alabama has a lot of players on this roster that can just line up and hit you, but can they bring the hands, bring the arms, wrap up, and finish the play? And Coach Saban in practice, he's always got the corners and safeties lined up, performing tackle drills. So for Alabama, being able to finish the play. Now, of course, last year defensively, Alabama gave up 18.6 points per game, 324.4 yards per game, and you guys were like, this is terrible, this is awful, this is the worst we have ever seen an Alabama defense look like. This is Bama, this is no excuse, like we crave perfection, like you got to get this thing right. So last year, there was a lot of uproar about the defense. The fire Pete Golding hashtag was all over Twitter. He sucks. Get him out of here. He's bad. He's awful. He's terrible. Worst thing ever to put on the defense in terms of coaching. Get Pete Golding out of here. If you looked at a lot of the stuff on Twitter, on social media, that was, of course, the hashtag that was going around. Now, of course, for some of you, it was, yes, it looks bad, but think about it like this. Like, Golding didn't have Dylan Moses last year, didn't have Joshua McMillan the whole season last year, didn't have Brian Ray for 10 games last year. DJ Dale got hurt and didn't play the final 3 games of the season. So while people looked at the injuries as part of the issue, a bunch of you still said, that's still no excuse. We Bama. 2017, Pruitt was down 11 million linebackers, and we still found a way to win a national championship with that team. So still no excuse there. But you still had the list of some that said, well, hey, you lost both of your inside linebackers, both of your guys that call the middle of the defense or set those calls into motion. That's a big deal. So at the end of the day, most people gave, Golding a pass for the injuries that happened. So now you come back this season, and Alabama giving up 21.5 points per game. Those fire Pete Golding hashtags have come back up. He's awful. He ain't doing his job. Dylan Moses came back. McMillan came back. Everybody came back. This defense is supposed to be gangbusters, knocking guys on their butt, shutting everybody out. They gave up 19 points to a trash Missouri team and 24 points to a mediocre Kellen Mond and that Texas A&M team. Get Pete Golden out of here. He ain't doing the job. He ain't cutting the mustard. Kirby Smart had his flaws, but it way better than this. Jeremy Pruitt had his flaws, but it's never been that bad. It's never been this bad, people. Saying this right now. So, in your mind, what does Pete Golding need to do to kind of put you in a state of mind to where you feel like, okay, he can do this, he can coach this defense, he can operate this defense, he can execute this defense? Because I'm gonna just say this right now. This year is a very different, strange year, right? Because I'm gonna start off like this. Dylan Moses is in charge of making the first initial call on the defense. He's in charge of making the first initial call. But there are other guys on defense that after Moses makes the first call, they have to make calls as well to their respective side of the field, right? And in the secondary here, Jordan Battle, who's going to be a really, really good safety in years to come for Alabama. Now, of course, he's got to be able to wrap up, finish the plays, make tackles, wrap up. But he's going to be really good here in years to come for Alabama. This is Jordan Battle's first year calling the plays from his safety position on that back end. Xavier McKinney did it last year. This is Jordan Battle's first time ever doing this. And then you look at, with the exception of Patrick Surtain, who's played in 30 games, 28 as a starter, Josh Jobe, Daniel Wright, Malachi Moore, who's playing in the most important, crucial, pivotal position in a Nick Saban defense at nickel at that star role, Malachi Moore. And so you got Josh Jobe, Daniel Wright, Malachi Moore, Jordan Battle. All four of these guys, this is their first year not only just starting, but having critical roles. Not only just starting, but doing critical things within the secondary. So having a spring would have been very, very huge for all four of these young men in terms of working out the kinks, getting some things situated, getting some things in order, really being better prepared. Having a spring would have been better for all four of those guys. And not only just that, being able to play some cupcake opponents would have helped all four of these guys, because now it is baptism by fire, right? It is baptism by fire. You're playing 10 SEC, 10 conference games to where there's no easy win, there's no easy matchup, there's no, roll out of bed. It's gut check, gut check, gut check, gut check every single week, because you're playing against the SEC every single week. And these guys are having to learn on the cusp, learn on the fly, taking a crash course, if you will. So this has been a very different, weird season in the case of Alabama didn't get the opportunity to prepare the way it would like to prepare. Yes, it had a fall camp, but even the fall camp was not a traditional, usual, typical fall camp. So no spring, not a traditional, typical fall camp. So once again, these guys, especially these four of the secondary, first year as starters, first year making calls, first year handling major responsibility. It's going to take a minute here, for these guys to gel the way they need to. The talent's there, the ability is there. It's just going to take some time, for these guys to gel. And even when you look at one Dylan Moses, yes, Dylan has playing experience, but keep in mind, Dylan is coming back off a season-ending knee injury. He missed a whole year of football. Think about that. Missed a whole year of football. So now he has to even reteach himself and relearn things himself in terms of being on the field. Because when you miss a whole year on the field, you miss a lot of scheme, you miss a lot of formation, you miss a lot of looks, you miss a lot of reps, you miss a lot of those opportunities. So now Dylan, even with the experience he has, because he missed a full year, now he's got to retrain, his mind on the field. He's got to retrain his body on the field. And once again, he will be fine. Alabama's defense is going to be fine. It's just having to be able to gel together on the field, and that gelling will definitely get there. That gelling will definitely get in key here and in tune. But for you as fans, the question is, what would it take for you? What does Pete Golding have to do for you as a fan to put you at ease, to put you in the frame of mind of, okay, he can run this defense, he can operate this defense, he can orchestrate this defense. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe I jumped the gun a little bit there on Pete. What does he have to do starting this week against Ole Miss? Granted, if we have the game against Ole Miss, and what does he have to do, from this game moving forward to put you as a fan in a situation where you feel comfortable, or you feel a bit better, I should say, with him orchestrating this defense under Coach Saban. We take our first break here on the show. Don't touch that dial, just getting started. When we get back, I want those phones ringing off the hook, because it's time to entertain your phone calls, your thoughts, your questions, your ideas, your vents on Coach Golding. Bring them in. What do you have to say about it? What does he need to do, in your opinion? We'll talk about it after this.
Every sports fan deserves the proper representation. Whitwell Sports introduces to you the Title Towel. Wave that Title Towel in the air like you just don't care, in support of Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Only $9.99, and it lasts a lifetime. Head on over to whitwellsports.com and get your Title Towel today.
Remember the taste of Grandma's delicious sweets? Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes brings back those precious memories with just one bite. Each cake made from scratch. They make the perfect dessert to share with family and friends for any occasion, and ordering is easy. Visit Emily'sHeirloomPoundCakes.com. Click the online store and shop. Then pick up your fresh cake at the kitchen in downtown Homewood. Order yours online at Emily'sHeirloomPoundCakes.com. Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes, making memories from scratch.
We're back in from the break here, folks, on the hottest show on the streets, the number one forum for Crimson Tide football news, in my own words, with yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Excited to have everybody locked and loaded onto the channel on today, and we're on you, Bama Nation. We're on you, Tide fans. 205-448-1358, the number to call in to let your voice be heard on the show. 205-448-1358, and one more time, 205-448-1358. Want to hear from you. But before that, we got a super chat here to shout out right now, and it goes to one Spencer Reveley, one of our faithful listeners here. Spencer Reveley dropping in that $5 via the super chats, helping us out here at TDA. But we take our first call of the night, coming from the man, Senator Hines. Senator, what's going on with you today, man?
Man, Steven, you done got me fired up talking about all this Pete Golding doubt, man. I'm telling y'all right now, this man is the perfect man for the job for the time that Alabama football is in. We're in the middle of another transition stage. I don't know if you all remember where Alabama went through a time where we were just juggling offensive coordinators, when we were going from our traditional pro-style offense, running straight up the middle, the old run-pass offense. And then the first year we took a step outside of those boundaries was really when Blake Sims took over, and we went more to the spread. And we struggled early. Blake Sims, he put up some numbers, games 3, 4, 5, 6, the rest of the season. But in the first 2 games, I remember so many Alabama fans, this ain't the type of offense we need. And we need to run the ball like we did. No, we had to put more pressure on defenses, because defenses were starting to make themselves, trying to re-image themselves as Alabama defense, because everybody was picking up on stuff in the run. And I don't know if everybody remembers, the SEC was rush offense country. We always had 1,500, 2,000 yard backs in the SEC year in and year out, between LSU, Alabama, Georgia, Auburn, Tennessee. Like you had 1,000 Arkansas, 1,000-yard rushes, 1,500-yard rushes because that's what we're about. But we're going through a transition stage, and Pete Golden is having to deal with that. Not only with that, but he's in an era where Nick Saban is not micromanaging as much. So Nick Saban is allowing him to grow up because Nick Saban knows he's only got about 5-6 more years left in him. So he's like, hey, these guys need to develop. Not only is he developing players, he's developing coaches. Charlie Strong is helping this guy. You can see the changes when you have a play like where Daniel Wright didn't make that tackle on the sideline to stop that play, and then he comes back the rest of the game and is locked down, not missing any assignments. That's coaching right there. That's the coach saying, hey, you must have forgot. You got a freshman sitting right behind you that's ready to get out there and prove themselves. And I'm calling the right defense. If you pay attention, you'll be in position to make plays. So we just got to give Pete some time. Point number 2 I want to make too, Stephen. The D-line is not necessarily getting the push, but I think we need to go ahead and reach further into the depth of the D-line. We got so much talent across the defensive line, Stephen. I feel like these guys shouldn't be playing more than, it should be like a 30% snap, split between all 7, 8 D-linemen that we have that can go out there and produce. But that's how I feel on it, Steve. I know I usually come in and ask you how you doing and stuff, but I see some of these comments, man, and I'm like, people are really tripping on Golden. He's like literally improving every week, and the competition is going to get better. We're going to get to see our defensive, our secondary put in work this weekend against Ole Miss if the game still is scheduled. But I think he's doing just what he needs to do. You can see the first half and second half adjustments. I mean, of course, we're going to see the let off when the second stringers get in. But I mean, I feel like he's doing good, Steven. That's how I feel about it.
Love the fire coming from you, Senator. Love the fire starting off today, a Wednesday edition of the show. My man, you take care. Continue to keep listening to us.
You already know, Steven. And Roll Tide in the Super Chat, all my Blue Ridge gang. Let's represent. Let's hold it down. Road to 18. We on it. Roll Tide. TDA the best.
Appreciate the love that coming from Senator to start the show. We take another call here on Wednesday. You're live on In My Own Words. What's going on?
Steven, this is Chris Jackson. How you doing?
Doing good, Chris, and yourself?
I'm doing well, man. I'm a faithful father, buddy. Well, man, I'm going to be honest with you, Bo. I've spoke with you more than one time, and I'm going to tell you the truth. I just don't think you'll never get it done in the SEC, bro. I heard people talk about all they needed was Dylan Moses back. Well, you know what? You got to make sure you got the second-string players ready to play just as good as the first-string players. I do not think, I don't care how good you are on the chalkboard with X's and O's, I just do not. That first game against Missouri, I was right there in person and watched it, and the defensive lineman was looking up, waiting on a call. That's a bad sign to me, bro. I mean, and that ain't counting the tackling and all this and that. I mean, to me, it still just ain't getting, I mean, I understand he might be a wizard on a chalkboard, but he does not make that call fast enough or adjustment fast enough. And I mean, I still say it the same way I said it before. I think that if there's any way humanly possible, Charlie Strong needs to be a defensive coordinator. I've said that. I'll stand behind it. He's a better recruiter. He's a better inside linebacker coach all the way around. I'm a Charlie Strong. If you have the opportunity to have him between the two, you go with Charlie Strong. To me, if when it gets down and we face really tough competition, Golden will get out coached by a OC every day of the week in the big league, and you know it deep down, Steven. You know it.
Okay, so let me ask you this, Dan. I gotta ask you this question right here. So just for you, Chris, in this game against Ole Miss, just in this game right here, should Alabama play this? What does Pete Golding have to do to you to put you in a little bit of ease, or is it just too little, too late for you at this point?
Oh man, well, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I mean, yeah, there's some things. I'm a little bit easy. Is it bad? No, it's not bad, man. No, it's not bad. But you know, hey, I'm looking down the road when he gets matched up against the offensive coordinator, and you got basically the same kind of talent on the field. Can he really get the job done then? You know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
You got me. I mean, I'm looking in the future more or less, Stephen, than right now, man. I mean, yeah, he can get the job done against Ole Miss. I feel like he can. If he don't, he needs to be fired the next day. I mean, with the talent that's out there on defense on Alabama's team, I mean, come on, bro. I mean, listen, hey, look, man, I don't care. Listen, if you put the whole second string in there, man, that's just like last year. I got burned out with people talking about, well, we were missing key pieces. But you know what an elite defensive coordinator does? He takes what he has and he goes out there and he coaches it up and he plays winning football with it. Don't use no crutch. I mean, that's the way I see it, man. And I know that's Nick Saban's baby, and I know a lot of this has the fact with him turning it over. But you know what, Stephen? There's been coaches in the country that just finally decided, hey, look, you know what? I got to put this in the hands of a man I trust. Don't get the job done. I mean, that's just where I stand with it, man. I mean, until I see first, second, that defensive line ought to be, man, they should, man, the talent on that defensive line, but we ought to go into games with teams having 21 or minus 10 yards rushing back. I mean, I've just been outdone. This is, to me, just been the worst call. I mean, this has just been the worst situation. And, man, I've been an Alabama fan all my entire life, bro. Lived just about all my entire life right there at Reform. I mean, look, bro, I'm just puzzled by this situation. And I have said this, and I hadn't jumped sides of the fence on it. I mean, to me, there's not a whole lot of difference between him and Tosh Napoy. I'm just going to be honest with you. I mean, I still don't think that he's got the ability, the cerebral ability to make that adjustment and call in the minute second to stop when you meet the same man on the other side is just as strong as we are. You know what I mean? I'm on talent for so long, but after a while, man, hey, you got the daggone be willing to sit down there and play checkers and chess and beat the man. And he's going to have to really beat a good one for me to get behind him. Let's put it that way. He's going to have to show me he's against an elite one. And you know what? This weekend, I guess that might be this weekend probably is going to be a good test. You're exactly right.
Well, Chris, man, we appreciate the call there coming from Chris. Some points there from him on the question of Pete Golding and what does he have to do from your end as an Alabama fan to put you in an easy situation. But we continue with the phone lines right now. You are live on In My Own Words. What's going on?
Hey, Bill from Springville. How are you, Steven?
Doing fantastic, man. On a Wednesday, and yourself, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Hey, I'm really being hard on our DC there a little bit, huh? More than maybe a little overreacting. I wanted to talk more about the running game last week. They were also taking a lot of hits. And I wanted to see what you thought. Like, obviously, nobody's ever in the I formation anymore. You're not going single back. But without the RPO and the way the defenses are playing, I think they're going to load the box, and Najee's not always going to average as many yards as everybody wants him to be. And that also affects the defense because their time of possession, even though they score on every possession, I mean, the defense is on the field the whole game, too. Besides the fact that it wears them down, it also is giving the other team more opportunity to score because they're out there for 40 minutes. And, I just think, like, they have to figure out. That's the only thing my concern is figuring out to get Najee the ball in better situations and where it's, especially when the teams are loading the box against us. What do you think?
Well, that comes down, man. That comes down to this offensive line really fitting and hitting the gaps. I remember I was in the Zoom call for player interviews on Tuesday with Landon Dickerson, and the second-year starter at center for the Tide, not happy with how the team's been running the football thus far. He sort of prides himself on being able to line up, put a man on a man and drive the opponent off the football. So I look at this week with this week being projected to be a week where we could get some rain, we can get some weather in here, not just crazy terrible weather, but some rain in here, and maybe have a situation where these guys can really flex some muscle and get Najee going in the run game. The big thing here for Alabama is, despite the fact that these teams are putting 7-man front and 8-man front and doing little stunts and whatnot, is for Kyle Flood. Kyle Flood, as the offensive line coach, him finding a way to have these guys being able to consistently create opportunities for Najee, for Brian Robinson, and for Trey Sanders. Because once again, the talent is there at running back, and the talent is there on the defensive line. It's just lining up and finding a way to get that done. But we appreciate the call, man.
Yeah, thank you very much. Talk to you next week.
Absolutely. We got another call here in the queue. It is Wednesday. You are live on the Words. What's going on?
Hey, it's Eric from Dallas, Georgia. How you doing today, Steven?
Doing good, Eric. Just trying to keep people in the conversation, trying to keep people calm in the conversation. But hey, this is what it's about, having a conversation about Bama football.
Yeah. I just want to go back with your first caller and what he was talking about, and basically what some of these Alabama fans don't want to realize is that the game is changing, and like you said before, we're in a transitional period now with this defense, and if you look across the board, nobody is not giving up a lot of points. It's really hard out there today, and you just can't say, oh, Alabama, we ought to be able to do this, that, and the other. The game has changed, not only at the college level but the NFL level too, and you just have to be aware of that. The same thing with the offense. Now, I can mention what Saban is doing. Saban is realizing the same issues we had last year with Tua putting up 60 points, okay, and stressing out the defense. A defense last year, mind you, that had 5 and 6 guys out, okay, all these injuries. He's realizing it now. He's like, hey, we got to be more balanced on both sides of the ball, okay? We got to be able to run this ball because we got to be able to take time off the clock. We got to be able to this offensive line's got to be able to open up some holes for our running backs. That way, this defense that is still learning, and not to mention defenses across college are going through the same thing. Okay, we are in a weird year. Okay, didn't have spring ball. You didn't have a lot of this stuff that you're normally accustomed to. And then Alabama fans, we're still just expecting our team to perform to this level. And you just got to be realistic sometimes. You got to be able to understand what's going on around you. You can't just say, Alabama, you just got to be able to do this, that, and the other. It just doesn't work. Now, am I saying that we should just take a pass and, our players shouldn't be able to do certain things on the defensive side of the ball? No, I'm not saying that at all. But you also got to realize what's happening, like your caller said before. And then what you said before today earlier, too, Stephen, you made that statement, hey, that 2016 team, we had 5 and 6 guys on that team, right? We had all those players. We had Minka, we had Reggie, we had Ruben, all those guys, and guess what? We still couldn't get that 3 and out, right? So we had all that talent, and we still could not do it against Deshaun Watson. And now you're expecting this team to do the same thing. You get what I'm saying? So, always like listening to you, brother, man. Keep doing it. And Alabama fans, calm down. It's gonna be okay. I trust the process. And if Saban wanted Charlie Strong to be running this defense, guess what? He would have made the call already. He would have did it already. You got to trust the process. All right. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it, brother. Roll Tide.
Man, Eric there from Georgia giving us a good call there on the show. We got another call right now on a Wednesday. You are live on In My Own Words. What's going on?
Hey, Steven. This is Mike from Kentucky.
Oh, Mike is back. What's going on, man?
Hey, man, I'm keeping things nailed down up here in Kentucky. I'm from Alabama. I just settled down up here in Kentucky, man. I love it up here, bro. I'm down in the holler.
So what's on your mind right now, brother?
Well, I don't know, man. I think your last caller kind of framed it up pretty nice, man. The game's changed. It's used to be the offenses couldn't keep up with the defenses. Now it's the defenses can't keep up with the offenses. We're going to find out how good of a play caller Pete Golden is this weekend against Lane Kiffin, because that cat can dial it up, bro.
He can now. And what's crazy is, coming into the season, Mike, I literally thought that Ole Miss was going to go with John Rice Plumlee at quarterback, the speed that he has. But, Matt Caddell has turned it on, playing some really good ball there, playing some really good ball there at quarterback. And, of course, you've got Jerrion Ealy at running back, a guy that Alabama was targeting late in that 2019 class because it thought that Trey Sanders may not qualify academically. Thankfully, Trey Sanders did. But like you mentioned, Lane Kiffin is somebody that can dial it up. This was a guy that had a lot of success here at Alabama, and he's back in the SEC as a head coach. So this weekend is going to be a fun weekend.
Yeah, I'm with you on the quarterback situation at Ole Miss, man. That dude they had last year as a freshman, man, Plumlee, he was a stud.
I mean, man, he was. I'm telling you, 4.5 speed. That guy could go.
Dude, Alabama recruited that cat as an athlete. They wanted him to wear our jerseys. That dude's a baller. He's a dual threat. I think he's more of a problem than that other dude.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Plumlee can flat out. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I think we finally got some good pressure off the edge this year. I'm really glad to see that. Those young cats at linebacker look really good. That they're getting in there quick on them. I think we'll be all right, but to tell you the truth, I'm just surprised they didn't go after Brent Venables a couple of years ago and just get it over with, write a check, and get that dude in here, and we'll have a defense.
I mean, he continues.
He's a Bama boy. He'll come if they make the offer.
I mean, he continues to just coast up there at Clemson. But Mike, man, we appreciate the call, your thoughts, your inputs, man, and you take it easy.
All right, man, you be cool. Later.
Absolutely. Mike from Kentucky, they're giving us a quality call here on the show. You guys blowing us up so far. We're going to before we take our first break here, got to go over this quick topic right now, and it's Mac Jones. Alabama quarterback Mac Jones was named Maxwell Player of the Week, for his performance against the Aggies, 20 for 27 passing, 435 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Congrats to Mac Jones on being named the Player of the Week from the Maxwell Football Club Foundation. We take a break right now on the show, but upon our return, we sit down with former Alabama wide receiver Matt Caddell to break down more Tide football right after this.
If you want delicious home-style cooking, sushi, and hibachi, check out Otoro Hibachi in the University Mall in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. At home and you can't get away from the TV because the Crimson Tide is about to score? Don't worry, delivery is also available through Waitr and Crimson2go. That's Otoro Hibachi in the University Mall in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And make sure you let them know the good folks at Touchdown Alabama sent you. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $7.95 per month, or pay $74.95 for a full year subscription. That's a yearly saving of $20. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide.
All right, people, it is Wednesday, hump day, hottest show on the streets, #1 forum for Crimson Tide football news, in my own words, with yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. As always, be sure to give a thumbs up. Give a thumbs up, drop a like on the show, hit that subscribe button, turn all of those notifications on so that way, you can have the best in news, notes, and updates on your Crimson Tide. Appreciate you guys, the passionate fans of Alabama football, lighting us up in that first call segment. Bring that same energy in the second call segment as well. But right now, we move on over to the In My Own Words hotline, where we pick up former Alabama wide receiver Matt Caddell, who joins us, often on Wednesdays to break down the Crimson Tide in fun, interactive game segments. Matt, 2-0, Bama 2-0 right now. Matt, how you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Let's get this part of the show started.
Yes, get the party cranking, absolutely, Matt. So, Alabama 2-0 right now. Coming off a win, 52-24 win over Texas A&M. at Bryant-Denny, first home opener of the season. So now it's getting itself prepared to go to Oxford, Mississippi, Vaught Hemingway Stadium to take on Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin. So we're going to switch it up here, Matt. We're going to look at our defensive players of the game first. Defensive players of the game, because everybody talking defense. People are looking at Pete Golding. So in this matchup here, when you're facing an offensive mastermind like a Lane Kiffin, you got to have a defense that's doing its thing and that's keyed in to do its thing. So, Matt, your defensive player of this matchup.
My defensive player of this game is going to be Christian Harris. I think he's going to be integral in, the defense getting set, lined up. Right now, from what I've seen, I think he's a little bit ahead of Dylan Moses as far as, like, the feel of the game, filling the gaps on the run, and knowing what the offense is trying to do. So I'm going to go with Christian Harris.
You're going to go with Christian Harris there as your defensive player of the game against Ole Miss for Alabama. Solid pick there, Matt. Solid pick there. For me, I'm going to go with this defensive line. I'm going to pick up LeBron Ray. And the reason why I'm going to pick up LeBron Ray is he spoke to the media during fall camp and, of course, on Tuesday, being yesterday. And one of the main things he talked about was getting that pass rush going, getting that edge rush, and finishing on plays in terms of sacking the quarterback. Against Missouri, Alabama posted 3 sacks. Against Texas A&M, yes, it affected Kellen Mond to where he had 2 interceptions, but it didn't finish with sacks. It didn't get a sack on Kellen Mond. So this week when you're facing a Matt Corral, where LeBron Ray is concerned, he's going to want to finish the play. He's going to want to sack the quarterback. I mean, the young man's wearing a brand new number. He's no longer 89 no more. He's 18. New number. Who this cat is? It's still LeBron Ray. It's still LeBron Ray, but he's playing with a bit more fire, and now he wants to have an opportunity to get those sack numbers up. When Freddie Roach made the decision to leave Ole Miss to come to the University of Alabama, his alma mater, his thing was getting this defensive line to be more energetic, to come after the quarterback and finish those sacks. So for me, I'm going to roll here with LeBron Ray. So flipping this over here to the offensive player of the game here for the Crimson Tide, provided there's a bunch of rain in this game coming off of our Hurricane Delta here, I feel like Alabama's going to lean more so on the run game. They'll probably give Mac Jones between 15 to 20 passes, doing a little wet ball drill, that type of thing. So I see Alabama leaning here on the run game. And because Landon Dickerson talks so much about he's disappointed with how the run game has been so far, I'm going to go with Najee Harris and the offensive line being the player of the game offensively. Najee Harris and the offensive line, and a particular offensive lineman to watch for fans in this game. Keep your eyes on Deontay Cornbread Brown. Cornbread is going to go off in this football game. Najee Harris will run off Cornbread at left guard. He is going to drive some folks on the ground. He's going to pancake a couple of dudes and get Najee into the open field. So I'm going to go with Najee Harris, offensive line, but in particular, watch Cornbread Brown offensively here for the Tide.
I think those are great points, man. It's going to be a wet day possibly, and I just think it's important for our team to win a game in the rain. I just think it builds so much confidence in your team. We need to be prepared. I know defensively for Lane Kiffin we got to stop Ely in the running game. They have a couple other running backs, Matt Corral. They use the other quarterback at receiver, so they're going to be throwing a lot at us. And, luckily they played Florida the first week, so they kind of threw everything in the kitchen sink at Florida, and they had a overtime win against Kentucky last week. So I think we've just seen just about everything they're going to throw out in the playbook with their personnel. I think we're going to be prepared. I just think it's important us for just to be disciplined, not have any costly fumbles, continue to get out the field on third down defensively. Lane is going to take advantage, so we got to be mentally focused on covering the running back out the backfield. So, and I think, like you said, our offensive line is going to be key in this game, dominating the line of scrimmage and getting Najee in the end zone a lot. So I totally agree.
So who would you have basically as your offensive player of the game right now, Matt?
Right now, I would say I'm going to go with Najee Harris just because I think the offensive line, as you mentioned, Landon, they're not satisfied. They're more disappointed with the run game. So this is a prime opportunity really to build confidence and dominate the line of scrimmage and get in the end zone and have a solid rushing attack. That'd be great for us to come into Georgia just running the ball, beating Ole Miss, and that gives us an advantage offensively. So I'm going to go with Najee Harris.
Folks, if you're just tuning into the show on today, we got former Alabama wide receiver Matt Caddell on the phone line just discussing, players of the game, keys to win for Alabama against Ole Miss coming up this weekend. So, Matt, as we flip this now to Lane Kiffin, as we put the microscope on Lane Kiffin, this is the guy right here. If you talk to, Bama fans, rival fans, local media, national media, despite the success of Kirby Smart, despite the success of Jeremy Pruitt, a lot of people feel like if there is a former Saban assistant that can get him, this would be the guy right here in Lane Kiffin. Matt, why do you think some people feel that way? Do you feel that way? Talk about the challenge that a guy like Lane Kiffin really offers here.
Yes, I still think Kirby probably presents, Kirby and Pruitt probably presents the former assistants that have the highest percentage because they're just defensive gurus, but Lane's the only offensive former assistant that's a head coach, and he's just such a guru. Even when Alabama won that national championship year, he played us very tough to where Terrence Cody had to block a kick for us to win the game. So he knows how to expose defense. He gets a feel of the game and what defense is trying to do with him. So he's very prepared offensively. I think he learned a lot from Coach Saban being under his tutelage while he was at Alabama. A lot of maturation, a lot of maturity, a lot of how to lead a program. You saw he did that at FAU, and I believe he's going to do it at Ole Miss. So, Lane's just an offensive guru, so he knows how to attack your defense. He loves to mix things up, a lot of motions, a lot of trick plays, just to keep you and your defense on their toes. So this is going to be an important game for us. This is going to be probably our most important defensive game. Luckily we're coming off of playing Kellen Mond, a really mobile quarterback. They had a really good tight end, some good running backs, and some young receivers. So this is going to be a good challenge. So I think if our defense plays a good game this week against Ole Miss, really take pride in not having mental errors and stop Lane Kiffin and his offense, I think that's going to help us on down the road, especially with Georgia coming in here in the week after that. So not going to get ahead of myself right now, just focus on beating Ole Miss. So I think because Lane presents a lot of challenges on the offensive end.
So as we look at now, Pat, the defense for Alabama led by one Pete Golding. Of course, the growing complaints for Coach Golding are building by the day. I know last year when it was not the typical Alabama defense, you had people with the fire, Pete Golding hashtag going out there. And, of course, now that thing has kind of taken a mind of its own. Once again, but he hasn't been terrible. You're looking at a group that, as I mentioned, 4 busted, blown coverages away from giving up just 9.5 points per game and being a top 5, a top 10 defense. So when you look at this group right now, Matt, getting prepared for Ole Miss, is everything all on Pete Golding? Or a better question would be, is everything all Golding's fault at this point in your mind?
I don't think it's Golden's fault. I think Golden's actually done a better job getting the guys in position. With the advance of the college spread, no defense is going to look just pure dominant. Somebody's going to get exposed with the way, the game is changed to offensively. But, I'm not going to put it on Pete Golding. I'm putting it on the players. The players got to take some ownership, take some accountability, not have these mental errors. You look at a couple plays versus Missouri, nobody covered the running back out the backfield twice. Obviously, Texas A&M tried to run that, so we were kind of struggling in the first half. But, the coaches can only do so much, so it's on up to the players to really take that ownership, do that studying, have the accountability, to really be, play each play like it has its own history and just focus on that play, play the next play and just try to eliminate mental errors and be tough. I think we played a little bit more physical throughout the game last week, and I just think we're going to get better this week. And this is going to be an important game for our defense to really get that confidence back. I think they finished the game pretty well last week. We kind of gave up some easy plays at the beginning, but I think, just give them some time. They just got to eliminate the mental errors, and I think when they do that, they'll start playing with more confidence, and they'll be the defense that we've known to as Alabama fans are used to seeing.
He's Matt Caddell, ladies and gentlemen, former Alabama receiver, played from 2003 to 07, joining us as often as he can on a Wednesday to have these fun, interactive segments when talking Alabama football, prepping us for the games that week. Matt, as always, man, we appreciate you. We appreciate you for coming on, doing your thing, laying your wisdom, having some fun with us on the show. As always, you stay safe, be good, take care, enjoy the game, man.
Always, and roll tide, and let's get this victory. Let's beat Hotty Toddy this weekend.
Absolutely. Matt Caddell joined us live here on the show, just breaking down some Alabama Ole Miss and even a little Lane Kiffin talk here going into this weekend. But we take another break here on the show. Don't touch that dab. When we get back, we return to entertaining you, the passionate, enthusiastic fans of Alabama football. We're taking your phone calls, your thoughts, your tweets, your chats, your super chats as well right after this.
T-Town Menswear in the University Mall in Tuscaloosa. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $7.95 per month, or pay $74.95 for a full year subscription. That's a yearly saving of $20. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide.
All right, people, back in from the break on what is the number one form, the number one ticket, hottest show on the streets here for your Crimson Tide football news, notes, and information in my own words with yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. As always, be sure to give that thumbs up, drop a like on the show, hit that subscribe button, and turn all of those notifications on so that way you can have the best in news, notes, alerts, and entertainment coverage on your Crimson Tide. Before we go back to the phone lines there, got a super chat to shout out right now. How about Striving to Be Set Apart? That's a dominant name right there. Striving to Be Set Apart, throwing in that $10 there via the super chats, donating to us here at TDA. So we appreciate the love there from Striving to Be Set Apart. But as you're getting your thoughts together to call in, once again, that number 205-448-1358, 205-448-1358, and one more time, 205-448-1358. Definitely want to hear from you, your thoughts, your ideas, your concerns, your events, whatever you want to talk about in discussing Alabama football this week. Want to get you to those phone lines as you're getting your thoughts together right now. Another topic right here. How about Damian Harris? Former Alabama running back Damian Harris, an ambassador of Crimson Tide football, played for the Tide from 2015 to 2015 to 2018, was selected in the third round of a 2019 NFL draft by those New England Patriots, and on Sunday, well, not Sunday, I think it was Monday. I think it was Monday Night Football. It was Monday Night Football. It was the Patriots versus the Chiefs. Now, the Patriots lost 26-10, But Damian Harris, his first ever 100-yard game as a pro athlete. Harris, 17 carries for 100 yards on head, averaged 5.9 yards per carry. He had a big, strong show there for the Patriots. So good to see Damian Harris in the NFL, playing well, doing well, first ever career in a 100-yard game, because at Alabama, Harris was a big deal. 5-star from the state of Kentucky when he came in 2015, a guy that finished his career 8th all-time in school history for rushing yards, 3,070, a guy that was kind of a spokesperson, if you will, for the Crimson Tide to a certain extent, and a guy that really, he just really loves the program. Really loves the program, really loves Tide football. So very proud of Damian Harris having that 17 carries for 100 yards, average 5.9 yards a carry there for the Crimson Tide. But along with the good news in terms of Alabama football in the NFL, we do have some sad news also for O.J. Howard, former Crimson Tide tight end who was drafted by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. O.J. Howard sustained a torn Achilles on Sunday in Tampa Bay's win over the Chargers. I believe the final score was 38-31 in favor of the Bucs. O.J. Howard caught 1 of 5 touchdown passes from Tom Brady, 3 catches for 50 yards, and a score there for Howard. He tore his Achilles in the game, and according to numerous NFL media pundits out there, and of course team doctors as well, Howard is expected to miss the remainder of the season. And this sucks, because he was really starting to grow and develop into his own and really play well, despite having Rob Gronkowski with him and Cameron Brate on the same team, both at the tight end position. So seeing OJ kind of separate himself just a little bit there, and seeing him have fun, have production, have success, and it just started to look like he was really about to break through for Tampa Bay, being one of the trusted guys that Tom Brady could get the ball to. And to see him go down with this crushing setback here, this injury here with the Achilles, really wishing Howard strong recovery, strong surgery, strong bounce back, and getting through that surgery, getting through that rehab, and coming back strong. So that's just some information there on Damian Harris having his first 100-yard performance with the New England Patriots, and also O.J. Howard of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers sustaining that Achilles injury there. But we take another break here on the show, but upon our return, when we get back, we dive into one Lane Kiffin. Is this the guy? Is this the guy to finally topple the teacher? Is he the one to finally get the edge over Nick Saban in terms of the Zen Master facing his former assistants? We talk Lane Kiffin after this.
If you're an avid Alabama Crimson Tide fan and you love to flaunt it, then show your Alabama Crimson Tide support by grabbing the All-Bama sneakers. They feature bold Crimson Tide graphics, so no one will be able to question where your allegiance lies. When you add these sweet sneakers to your Alabama Crimson Tide collection, go to STSfootwear.com and use the code TDAlabama for $15 off your purchase. That's code TDAlabama for $15 off your purchase. Go to STSfootwear.com and get your All-Bama sneakers today. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $7.95 per month, or pay $74.95 for a full year subscription. That's a yearly saving of $20. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back in from the break here on the hottest show on the streets, the number one forum for Crimson Tide football news, in my own words, with yours truly, Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Appreciating everybody for tuning into the show on today, for lighting us up there in that first call segment with your thoughts, your events, your concerns about one Pete Golding, the defensive coordinator, but I honestly feel like he is going to be better than fine in this matchup, not only against Ole Miss, but throughout the season here for the Crimson Tide. Before we get into now, final topic of conversation, got to remind you of TDAwear.com. That is TDAwear.com. Get your shopping done right here. I'm telling you, if you want the best in Alabama football apparel, you are a Bama football fan. You crave it, you want it, you love it, you value it. You can't breathe without this football program. Go to TDAwear.com where you can pick up all sorts of shirts, all sorts of hoodies, all sorts of apparel. If your thing is the I Love Hearing Touchdown Alabama shirt, the We Want Football shirts, the Let Them Play shirts, or all the hoodies you can fit yourself in, we got you covered right here. TDAwear.com. That is TDAwear.com, showing your support for Coach Saban, the University of Alabama football program, the student athletes, and of course us here at Touchdown Alabama Magazine. But we go to the final topic here of conversation, and that being one, Lane Kiffin. Head coach of Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin. And once again, I mentioned this before, when you talk to different fans, some Bama fans, some, rival fans, when you look at members of national media, some of national media, a few guys in the local media, when you talk to just people in general, despite the success of Kirby Smart and the success of Jeremy Pruitt and the success of other guys that have coached under Saban, people feel like this is the dude right here. Lane Kiffin is the dude right here to end the streak of, former Saban assistants that have yet to beat the big-time head coach, the 6-time national champion head coach. Now, Saban is 20-0 all-time against his former assistants. The latest guy he defeated was, last week, Jimbo Fisher by the score of 52-24 in Bryant-Denny. And now, me personally, I don't know the relationship that Nick and Jimbo had in LSU. Really don't know. When Jim McElwain was at Alabama as the offensive coordinator from 2008 to 2011, Coach Mack basically stayed in the press box the whole time. So the only three coaches that Saban really had sort of that interaction with on the field was Kirby Smart, Jeremy Pruitt, and of course Lane Kiffin. Now, when it came down to Smart and Pruitt, when Saban would get mad and throw the headset down and chew them out and cuss them out and say stuff to them, just when the cameras were panned on Smart and Pruitt, it just looked like both of those guys were just sitting there taking it. Now, they probably were not just sitting there taking it. When the cameras were off them, they probably said some things back at Coach Saban. They probably popped back off at Coach Saban. But when the cameras were panned on Pruitt and Smart, it just looked like from where the cameras were panned on them that Saban would be giving it to them and yelling at them and throwing stuff and just all in their face. Yeah! It just felt like those two were just sitting there taking it. Now, Lane Kiffin, the chameleon, on the other hand, when the cameras were panned at, when those two were getting at it at times from the sideline, Kiffin was firing back at Saban. Kiffin was saying some stuff and looking at Nick and throwing his hands up at Coach Saban like he was kind of giving it back to him a little bit. So that's sort of maybe, one of the emphasis as to why people feel like Kiffin would be the guy to get this done in terms of one day, taking down Coach Saban if he is to do so. Another reason is why, Kiffin's one of those guys that's just not afraid to take shots. And he's always been that way. He's never been afraid to take shots. He's never been afraid to dial up different calls. He's never been afraid to kind of walk on the wild side a little bit. His whole coaching career has been walking on the wild side a little bit. And when you discuss his time at Alabama from 2014 to 16, did a lot of great things as the OC in Tuscaloosa. I mean, You look at 3,000-yard quarterbacks in Blake Sims and Jacob Coker. You're looking at a couple of 1,000-yard backs in Damian Harris and Derrick Henry. A 2,000-yard back in Derrick Henry. 2 1,000-yard receivers in Amari Cooper and Calvin Ridley. A Biletnikoff Award winner in Amari Cooper. A Heisman winner in Derrick Henry. 3 SEC championships. 1 national title. I mean, Lane Kiffin did a lot when he was at the University of Alabama, and you still have people that feel like Kiffin is a better offensive mind than Sarkisian is, so that'll be a good chess match there between Kiffin and Sark, over the weekend. But Nick Saban putting his record on the line again this week versus Lane Kiffin, as this October he's facing a chunk of his former assistants. He faced Jimbo Fisher last week, Scott Kiffin this week. We'll have Kirby Smart next week, Jeremy Pruitt, down the road with Tennessee. So this is the month Saban's facing a lot of his former assistants, but is Lane Kiffin the one to, be that guy that can finally get the assistant coaches over the hump? Will he be the assistant coach to finally get that first loss on Saban's record against former assistants and the first win on the record for the pupils in trying to knock out the teacher? Now, he said some really good things. He paid some big homage to Coach Saban at Alabama in his press conference today, when he's in the SEC teleconference today, when talking about, one of the questions thrown to Kiffin was about Alabama's offense. He was like, man, I wish it was the old offense that we faced when we were at Tennessee, and they barely beat us 12-10. They didn't score any touchdowns in that game. Now they're just unstoppable. They're able to throw the football. They got a third receiver that I never heard about, this Mechie guy. He's clicking. So this is going to be a tough challenge for us in this football game. So he's thrown some praise there at Coach Saban. He's thrown some adoration there at Coach Saban. But is he the guy? Is he the one this week that has the best chance, that has the best opportunity to really get this win here over Coach Saban? Now, he's got to recruit some defense. Kiffin's got to recruit some defense because that defense over there is lacking. But is he the one to put himself in the best possible opportunity to get that first win for former assistant coaches against Coach Saban? We shall see. But as always, people, you want the best in news, notes, information, and coverage here on your Crimson Tide. It's very simple and easy to do this, to access this. You can get this by downloading the Touchdown Alabama Magazine app. You can download it from the iPhone App Store if you're rocking Team Apple, Google Play Store if you have the Android phone. For your audio listening needs, we got you covered here on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Spreaker, Overcast.fm, TuneIn Radio, Google Play, or iHeartRadio. We got you covered. If the good and gracious Lord sees fit, I'll be back on Friday continuing the talk that is Alabama football. As always, Bama fans, you can purchase individual copies of Touchdown Alabama magazine. Have those sent to your door. Link will be found in the description. But till next time, folks, husbands love your wives. Wives appreciate, value those husbands. Children, school is in. Continue to do those things legitimately now to not be bored. Be sure to get you those 3 hearty meals a day, those 3 great laughs a day. Protect yourself. Protect the loved ones around you. Till next time, folks, I'm your man, Stephen M. Smith, and this has been In My Own Words.